Good evening everybody and welcome to our refresher session for the English language, and welcome to all those who've been logged in for at least the last 15 minutes. If there's anybody who's new and this is your first session, please let me know. We'd like to acknowledge you and welcome you. So I was just looking through the comments, and a couple of you had requested for specific question types. We'll have to check what question types are available. I'm assuming it's going to be an assorted mix of questions. Yeah. So those of you who've logged in for quite some time, you may want to refresh at your end, right? For some reason, if you're not able to see the video or it's stuck, and if somebody can help posting the YouTube link, if that's going to be helpful, then please do so, and change the resolution if it's not clear. You know, all those aspects take care of. Yeah. Yeah. So if there is any specific question that you would like to be addressed or taken up, and if it's not part of today's presentation, then don't fret. You can always post it in the discussion forum and I will answer it there. Surya is new. Welcome, Surya. Anybody else who's new, who's joined us? Thanks, Priya, for the link. So I see a lot of familiar names. Yes, Chandrahas, we will definitely have something for SSC CGL planned, no doubt. You don't have to worry about it. Just keep watching the events calendar and you'll know when sessions are scheduled around the same. Yeah. So other than Surya, anybody else who's new? Dravida or Dravita, however you pronounce your name. Are you new? Okay, so please let me know if you're new, but we can get started. And if I happen to miss out on seeing your name in the chat, then please excuse me, because I'm going to start this session. I believe we have quite a number of questions to cover. So for those who are new, so welcome, Kopi Setti, welcome. So those of you who are new, basically we will look at different question types, right? Usually from our tests, which is the All India mock tests, the AIMs that you take weekly, on a weekly basis, or it could even be from subject tests or practice tests, and we will discuss those questions, right? Mostly these sessions are assigned for the same, so that you get enough practice. And I've always told this, irrespective of the same question type that we are looking at, there's always something for us to take back in terms of a language component, right? In terms of something new that we learn. So it's always good to start ahead, Chandra, just to answer your question, right? Not a lot of us are very proficient in writing, so yes, the sooner you start, the better. Somebody else said they were new as well. Who is that? Utkarsh. Welcome, Utkarsh. Okay, so let's get started. Yes, Shubham, did you have anything to say, or you just wanted to say ma'am? Or maybe you're typing. So type away, and I'm going to project the first question. I'm good, Sajid. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Yeah? Okay. So let's see, the first question that we have here is phrase connectors. All right. A lot of us have a challenge with this question type, right? For some of us, it's always pretty confusing in terms of connecting two sentences to make sense meaningfully. And from the options, sometimes people are not really able to follow or imply. So a couple of things that I'd shared earlier in terms of phrase connectors is two things to keep in mind. One is not just to connect the two sentences to make meaning complete, but we need to also ensure that the meaning implied is retained, right? The same meaning has to come out when I'm after having completed connecting those two sentences. Yeah. So let's see what the question is. Directions, we are all familiar. Select phrase connected from the given 3 options, which can be used to form a single sentence from the 2 sentences given below, implying the same meaning as expressed in the statement sentences. So let's quickly mark the 2 sentences very clearly, right? So research shows some people are, research shows some people are able to respond more quickly to questions. So this is obviously sentence 1. They are perceived as more charismatic is sentence 2. And I have 3 options. Research shows that people who, then I have responding to questions, and then I have however research, right? So using any of these options, we'll have to connect the 2 sentences and make sure the meaning is retained. So I'll give you about 30 seconds to a minute. Let's see if you're able to crack this. So, and it very clearly says, pick out the option which when used to start a sentence combines both the above sentence into one. Okay. So I have an answer from Neela Ben Banishri saying it's option A. Mohan also agrees with them. What about the rest of you? Ashok also agrees with the rest of you. So does Joshikant. Anybody has anything different? Let's go from the back, okay? However research. Option C says however research. So, however meaning there has to be a preceding sentence, right? And I can quickly eliminate option C because it just won't make sense for me to connect those 2 sentences, right? Because there is no contradictory meaning here at all. Research shows that people are able to respond more quickly to questions. They are perceived as more charismatic. So which means it's talking about the same people, group of people, and there's nothing contradicting. So which means I don't have to even worry about option C because of this hint word, however, because there's no contradictory meaning. B, responding to questions quickly. Research shows that some people, again, it's not making any sense, right? Illogical. Option B as well. If I start the sentence with responding to questions, how will I take it forward? Just doesn't make sense. Option A, research shows that people who respond more quickly to questions are perceived as more charismatic as well, right? So I'm able to connect both the sentences retaining meaning, and that option is provided only by option A, and therefore the answer is option A. So Vijay, couple of you are coming back and giving me other options, right? So if I take B, we just looked at B quickly, right? I'm unable to move forward if I start the sentence with responding to questions. Responding to questions quickly. Would you like to type out the complete sentence where you're saying, hey, let's start with option B. Responding to questions more quickly. What? How will you take it forward and complete the sentence? Amrit also says B. So I'd like to see your sentences if you can manage to type it out. So the only problem with option B is, even if I start with that, I just can't make complete meaning of both the sentences, right? Because I have to bring in the context of research. I also have to bring in the context of that they are perceived as charismatic. So responding to questions quickly, display people as, or responding to questions quickly, people are perceived as more charismatic as per research also is not giving me the right message, right? Because there is, both the things are on the same platform. There is nothing more or less in terms of meaning. So what I'm trying to say is, I just can't make logical sense when I start the sentence with B. And that leaves us with A, very clear, no problem. So Joshikant has come back and said, hey, responding to questions more quickly make people more charismatic. No. So Joshikant, let's take your example, right? You're saying responding to questions more quickly make people more charismatic is a completely different meaning. Just because I respond to questions more quickly, it doesn't make people charismatic. They are perceived as charismatic, right? So I need that context, and I also need research. Both of those elements are missing in your context. So one, it's not complete. Responding to questions more quickly make people more, again, same thing. Okay, you said as per research, you took it from my word, but still it's not giving or implying the same meaning, right? Responding to questions more quickly does not make people more charismatic. They are perceived as charismatic. So that's a completely different meaning altogether. Yeah. So for me, meaning is not complete. The implied meaning in the first two original sentences are not brought out clearly in option B, whereas in option A, without a doubt, it completes meaning. Charismatic. So Suchi says, Nagini is asking, what is the meaning of charismatic? If you call somebody as charismatic, people are automatically drawn to them. Why? Because of their personality. Maybe they have the gift of the gab. Okay, you may not understand what gift of the gab is. Gift of the gab means somebody who knows how to talk, how to present themselves. Elsie also is asking the same question. So when I say somebody is charismatic, there's some sort of an aura around them, right? You are drawn to their personality. It can be the way they dress, it can be the way they carry themselves, it can be the way they speak, it can be the way they handle certain situations, right? Very charismatic, something very energetic about them, something very powerful about them, right? That's a charismatic person. You are attracted to them immediately because of the way they are, because their personality is in such a way, right? Like James Bond seems Gokul. Yeah, different people are attracted to different personalities, right? So depending on the nature, depending on how you look at people, yeah. So charismatic people they don't have to necessarily be beautiful, honey, right? They just attract, people are drawn to them because of their personality. Yes, it is gift of the gab and not gap. Did somebody say gift of the gap? Or maybe you didn't hear me clearly. Okay, let's move on. We're gonna look at the next question. Here it is. Baba Ramdev's Patanjali group gave FMCG multinationals a breathless run for their money and clocking a turnover of rupees 10,561 crores in 2016 to 17, and now his group wants to set a more scorching growth pace and double its turnover by the next year. Okay, it's pretty long sentences, right? I have sentence 1 here and then I have sentence 2 right here. So my options are setting a more scorching, a breathless run for, and after giving FMCG. So again, we're going to pick out the option which when used to start a sentence combines both the above sentences into one. Okay, so your time starts now. Let's see if you're able to get this also correct. It's the same direction as the first question, no change. Okay, so I have different options. I have B, C, D. Let's wait for some more responses. So basically I have B, C, D. Okay. So, so Vijay wants to know what's the meaning of scorching. Usually you will associate scorching with the word heat, scorching heat, right? the sun was scorching, which means it was very intense, maximum. So in the context, wants to set a more scorching growth pace, matlab very intense growth pace, something very fast paced, something very powerful, strong growth pace. That's what it means. Okay. So if you're familiar with collocations, you can quickly associate the word with what word would be associated with, and then look at the context and see, apply some context clues and figure out the meaning. Yeah. So now let's look at our options. Okay, we'll go from option A, setting a more scorching. Did anybody say A? Yeah, okay, Ashok has said A. Let's look at A as well. Setting a more scorching growth pace. Okay. So look at the whole context, right? Setting a more scorching. When I say setting a more scorching growth pace, which means that has already taken place, right? When I start the sentence with a gerund form, ing form, setting a more scorching growth pace, which means that has already happened. But has it already happened? As per the context meaning, go back to the context, it says his group wants to set a more scorching growth pace, which means it is still not happened. That is something that they are planning in the future, right? They want to send me, which means I have to rule out option A. I can't have option A. Setting a more scorching growth pace and doubling its turnover by the next year. Baba Ramdev's, but if I have to go in that mode, I can't go in that mode because that's not what the context is implying. The meaning is not that. They want to set a more scorching, which means it's not yet done. So I can't use option A, out. Option B, the people who said option B. A breathless run for their money and clocking a turnover. So how will you give me the sentence? Those who said B, only B, right? Give me the sentence because I really can't move forward. A breathless run for their money. How will you connect both the sentences from there? I have no clue. Like I can't even put 2 and 2. A breathless run for their money. And what? I'm not able to make logical sense. Where will I connect? What will I connect? I'll simply have to rule out B because I'm not even able to move forward. It's taken a part somewhere in between where it's just impossible for me to connect those two sentences. Who is giving a breathless run, right? The only option that makes logical sense is option C. Look at it. It says, after giving FMCG a breathless run for their money and clocking a turnover of rupees 10,000 blah blah blah. It's the same group, right? So I can substitute this and this whole thing which says, and now this group to Baba Ramdev's Patanjali group, right? So I can say, after giving FMCG multinationalists a breathless run for their money and clocking a turnover of blah blah blah, Baba Ramdev's Patanjali group wants to set a more scorching growth pace and double its turnover by the next year. That makes sense, right? So the only option that retains meaning and completes a sentence grammatically correct, meaningfully, is option C. Only C. So those who said only C, correct. Yeah, following? So option A, though it seems like I can connect the sentence, but the meaning is absolutely incorrect. I can't use option A. Option B, though, there is no chance of me moving forward, right? Because it's taken some weird phrase somewhere in between where I can't connect the preceding part or the following part. The only option that will connect is, right? Okay, Dhyanesh somehow has made some sentence, a breathless run for their money and clocking. Whose money? Whose money, Dhyanesh? Right? You get stuck right there. A breathless run for their money and clocking a turnover. Now, Patanjali, no, it just doesn't make sense. Whose money are we talking about? The pronoun is not addressed at all in the first context. I cannot make sense of what you're saying. What do you mean? See, let me put this What do you mean by the phrase a breathless run? If somebody is giving you a breathless run, means what? I need a subject who's doing that, right? Somebody is doing that to you. What is the meaning of a breathless run? Go back to the context. Can somebody explain to me what does that phrase breathless run mean? Anybody? Just apply a little bit of logic. What can it mean in that context? It's not very difficult. Just put 2 and 2 together. A tough fight. Yes, heavy competition. Yes, very good. Right? So in the context, just look at that phrase alone. Breathless means what? Out of breath. Somebody who's not able to keep up with you, or somebody who's giving you a tough time where, you know, they're just not making it easy for you. Right? Where you have to like really try hard to catch up with them. So if somebody is giving you a breathless run, which means they either making it very difficult for you, right? Or the competition is just too much at stake, right? So when you start when you start the sentence with a breathless run for, just doesn't make sense, because I need a subject who's actually doing that to you, right? So that way, meaningfully, I cannot start the sentence with a breathless run for. It just doesn't make logical sense. Intense fight, genuine fight, yeah. I mean, in this context, it's not really a fight. It's more of a, you know, giving them a tough time. Baba Ramdev's Patanjali group gave FMCG multinationals a breathless run for their money, meaning making it challenging for them, making it difficult for them, making it tough for them. Yeah. And now they want to set a more scorching growth pace and double its turnover by the next year. So it's a tough competition. Exactly. That's the exact meaning. Yeah. So phrase connectors, like I keep saying, even though you somehow feel that you can connect and make sense, always keep going back and seeing, hey, is it conveying the same meaning as both those sentences, the original sentences are conveying? That's something that you need to keep looking for, right? And grammatically also, you need to ensure that it's making sense, which means you need to be familiar with certain phrases. Like for example, in this context, a breathless run. Somebody has to do that for you, which means I need the subject to start, and I can't start the sentence with a breathless run for. Just won't make sense. Breathless run for government jobs. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So phrase connectors, Vijay, if you have missed, I would advise you to go back and look up some earlier refresher sessions where we've spent considerable time on phrase connectors, where I've shared the strategies. It's the same thing, right? The first thing is to make sure how I can eliminate wrong answer options, and keep looking at the directions, because it will specifically say use the given options to, when you start the sentence, to combine these two sentences. So either we miss out on expressing the right meaning of the two original sentences, or we miss out on certain idiomatic phrases like this, which has to make sense and which has to appear in a construction in a specific way, otherwise it will be grammatically incorrect. Okay, so I would advise you to go back and look up those sessions. Yeah, we're going to move to the next question. Let's see what it is. Okay, let's read the directions. It says, 5 statements are given below labeled A, B, C, D, E. Among these, 4 statements are in logical order and form a coherent paragraph passage. From the given options, choose the option that does not fit into the theme of the passage. So basically, we're talking about out of context, right? Or whatever, theme-based questions, right? So again, it's the same concept like jumble sentence. Basically, we're looking for links, we're looking for repeat words, phrases, but at the same time, we should not be fooled by repeat words, phrases, right? Even though the same phrase is repeated, is it addressing the core context, right? Is it addressing the core subject or the core issue of the passage? So is the theme intact? So which means for a question type like this, I need to identify what the subject is, so that I can eliminate something that is not in line with that context or theme. We've done these questions before. This is not a new question type for us. So I'm going to project the question. I'm going to give you another 1 minute. Let's see if you're able to identify which one is out of context, which one is not related to the theme. Here you go. Here's your question. Theme detection type, matlab you need to pick the sentence which is not connected to the theme. The questions are not necessarily taken only from AIM. I said it can be taken from practice tests, subject tests, daily tests, whatever tests, right? So I'm projecting the question again. So a lot of you started saying it's option A, and then couple of you said B, couple of you said E. Let's look at it. Yeah. So what do you think is the let's answer questions. Okay. First thing, what do you think the context is revolving around? What is the context revolving around? If I have to highlight this is the theme. This is the theme of this context. What will you say? Let's look at repeat words and phrases, okay? Chalo. So I have words, terror attack, okay. Terror attack. Where else does it talk about such attacks? Attack, okay. Conflict, almost in line with, right? Then I have Manchester here as well. Bombing, related to terror attack, hai na? Okay. So I have identified all these. And I know that the context is the theme, right? The theme is about terror attacks, because I just have too many words and meanings addressing the same, like bombing and conflict and all of that, right? Now let's understand the sentences, okay? Let's go from A. A says, words and visuals following a terror attack have become all too familiar in recent years. That's how it starts, right? So it has captured my theme, which is terror attack, and words, because here again supporting that clue, repeat word words, is D. The response to such attacks always follows a script. Brave words by leaders, forest of flowers at the scenes of attack, and a return to normalcy until the next attack. So what they're trying to say is, as and when an attack happens, it is always followed by these brave words by leaders. So words and visuals. So forest of flowers, scenes of attack, those are the visuals. So D is supporting both the clue word words and the visuals, which is nothing but, let me go back to the text. The scenes of attacks is nothing but the visuals, right? It's highlighting the visuals. Right? Forest of flowers. So D is in line with A, and it's like almost A is setting the context, have become all too familiar in recent years. And then let's look at B. B says names of cities no longer mean a geographical location alone. And then they've listed some cities: Paris, nice, Brussels, London. And the latest addition to the list of capitals. Now this list of capitals, the latest addition to the list of capitals, meaning the list of capitals has been introduced in B, right? There's a list. This list is nothing but this list which is there in B. Correct, right? So they're saying, boss, words and visuals follow a terror attack. And this is something that we are able to see commonly happening now. It's become very familiar. People are very familiar with such things because that's what's been happening in the recent years. Second thing says, so when I look at a city, it's not just about the name of the city. These cities seem like probably the, common places where these attacks are happening, which means they are very prone to these attacks. Maybe they are easy targets for these attacks, right? So the list, the example of the list is mentioned in B, and C is saying the latest addition to that list of capitals of conflict is Manchester, where 22 people enjoying a pop concert, blah, 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 blah. And we already know D is connected to A. Then let's look at E. The cut and thrust of electoral politics is a sign of normalcy in a democracy, but Manchester posed such a stepped up threat. Now, though option E has the repeat word Manchester, it is not addressing the terror attack, no? That is our theme, hai na? E is talking about some electoral politics, normalcy, democracy. Absolutely out of line of the context, right? So that's why sometimes it is important for us to not get fooled by even repeat words and phrases, because we need to see, that's why it's important for us to identify what is the theme first. The theme is terror attacks, boss. Anything related to that, yes. Even if I have another repeat word, I need to ensure that that repeat word is addressing the theme and not something else. E is talking about something completely different. And my clues are electoral politics, sign of normalcy in a democracy. No, sorry. Right? So which means the sentence that is not in line with the theme is option E and not anything else. Everything else is connected very, very vividly. What's the meaning of vivid? Very clearly. Yeah, are you following? Threat to what? But Manchester posed such a stepped up threat to what? Again, we are talking about politics and sign of normalcy in a democracy, right? The entire E sentence is saying the cut and thrust of electoral politics. So, E is bringing in a completely different theme about politics, which is not the, if I have to choose between A, B, C, D and E, the sentence that is not in line with the theme or which is not directly associated or connected to the theme is E. That can be a different segment that I can be addressing. Yeah? And keep in mind, when you say Manchester posed such a stepped up threat, and the context is talking about Manchester being a victim, right? Understand the logical meaning in the context. Manchester is a victim where a terror attack has happened. So how can Manchester pose a threat? It is a victim there, right? 22 people enjoying a pop concert packed with thousands of fans perished in what appears to be a suicide bombing. And we are talking about threat to electoral politics. So, just doesn't make sense. Let's try one more. Okay, here's your question. Here you go. Your time starts now. Apply the same concept. Identify the theme first. What is the theme? Okay, again I have different answers. Basically, I have A. Anybody has said B? Mostly A, then E. Couple of you have said C, D. So nobody has said B. Chalo. Let's look at it. What is the theme? Theme kya hai? Last question, the theme was terrorist attack. What is the theme? Commercial banking system. Jan Dhan Yojana, bank charges. So basically there are two coins to this, right? One, we are talking about how should the commercial banking system fall in line, matlab function according to a particular standard. When I say something should fall in line, which means there is a code of conduct to be adhered to, and whoever, it can be a person, it can be a system, it can be a procedure that needs to fall in line, matlab they have to adhere to what the set protocol is. So the context is saying, in order to do that, we need to establish or work towards a cashless economy, right? That's what the government has promised. So these two are my prominent words when it comes to the theme of the passage. So which means I have to pick a sentence that is addressing these two components. Cashless economy, what to do for that, so that the banking commercial banking system will fall in line. Yeah, this is the theme. Now let's go back to the context. A. To achieve the trinity of Jan Dhan, Aadhar and a more or less cashless economy that the government promises, it is essential for the commercial banking system to fall in line. This means abolishing or reducing many of the extra charges that banks impose on customers and merchants for transactions. Right? So, B is giving you one of the reasons in which we can move towards a cashless economy by making sure customers don't get charged unnecessarily for their transactions, right? Where they have to or they are forced to use cash, right? B is almost giving you a solution to the problem at hand. The problem is introduced or addressed in A as a theme, setting the foundation. B is saying this is what needs to be done as a solution. C, these charges is obviously referring to the extra charges, are mostly arbitrary, opaque to even educated customers and wholly incomprehensible to most consumers, small merchants and traders who are supposed to migrate to the new system. So they're saying, first of all, we need to ensure that customers are not charged unnecessarily for their transactions. One of the ways in which we can move towards a cashless economy. That's what the government has promised, right? That's how we feel that the concept of commercial banking will come in place. So then they're talking about what those extra charges are, and the next sentence C is saying these charges, these extra charges, right? People don't understand these extra charges at all. That's why it says opaque to even educated customers. What's the meaning of opaque here? Opaque means? What's the meaning of opaque? In the context, what does it mean? I'm sure it's not a new or unfamiliar word, right? Did somebody give me not? You mean visible, Ahuja? Something that is not clear, right? The procedure is not transparent, boss. I can't understand what's happening. Yes, not transparent, Srivastava. That's the word I'm looking for, right? So they're saying arbitrary means what? Put 2 and 2 together. These charges are mostly arbitrary, opaque to even educated customers and wholly incomprehensible. So something that is not transparent, something that is not clear, something that is arbitrary. What's the meaning of arbitrary? I'm putting the context again. Look at the context and tell me, what is the meaning of arbitrary? So basically, when I say something is arbitrary, it's like there is no explanation given to that, right? Somebody thought that this was what should be done. This is the be all and end all of it. And people just have to follow. Like no reason, no rhyme, can't understand why this came into place. What is the objective? What are we trying to achieve? Something arbitrary means not clearly explained. Yeah? So, these charges are mostly arbitrary, unexplainable, opaque, not transparent to even educated customers and wholly incomprehensible, something that they can't understand to most consumers, small merchants, traders who are supposed to migrate to the new system. What system? The commercial banking system. Go back. Banks charge customers a monetary fine if money in their accounts goes below a certain level. So, D is an example of that arbitrary, opaque and incomprehensible way of charging the customers. Right? D is an example of C. E. The solution is to balance volume with immediate value. Huh? What volume? What volume? What value? Right? For me, everything else is in line with the foundation, with the crux of the theme of the passage, except E. Suddenly, if you're saying the solution is already provided, boss. Solution is provided in B, saying all these extra charges needs to be cut off. We have to abolish or reduce this. That's the solution. So when again if you say the solution is to balance volume with immediate value, I'm just not able to correspond volume and value to what? Right? Which leaves us with a thing saying, hey, E is not in line with the context. I am not able to follow. Sabka answer E nahi. In these two questions, E happens to be the answer. Okay? Yeah? So, Anubrat, one of the ways in which, see, it's the same procedure for jumble sentence also. One of the strategies that I have told you is, how do I link sentences? I need to identify clue phrases and I need to ask questions, right? And if you look at this context, we've already established saying the government has promised cashless economy, right, which they feel is essential for the commercial banking system to fall in line, meaning to be adhered to. And B is the solution to that problem, right? How do we do that? Abolish, reduce, extra charges. These extra charges are what? Repeat words, right? These charges are mostly, we saw all the meaning of these words, right, which kind of adds to the context, helps me understand the context even better. And then D is giving me an example of how these charges are arbitrary, opaque and incomprehensible. Banks charge customers a monetary fine if money in their accounts goes below a certain level. That just doesn't make sense, right? For a lot of consumers, they're like, why boss you doing this? I know I have to maintain a minimum account, but why are you charging me on that if I'm not able to, right? Give me an explanation, give me a reason why you're doing that. It's my account. I opened an account, right? Generating money to help you circulate for whatever transactions that you're doing with millions of people, right? So why are you charging me? So D is an example of saying why people are not able to understand how these banks operate. Yeah, and E is the only one that is not in line. It's too vague, Anand. E is too vague. How A follows? A is the one that is introducing what everything is about, right? Without A, you don't have a foundation. What are you trying to achieve by B, C, D without A? I'm making a... Okay, people are getting a little political here. Nilesh, no comments. We're going to move forward to the next question. Okay? So, out of context also, same concept as jumble sentence. Ask questions. Look for repeat words and phrases. Identify logical links. Right? Try and establish what is the main theme or the crux of what is it revolving on, around. Okay, we're going to move forward to the next one. Let's see what it is. Okay, it's a different question type. It says, in each of these questions, 2 sentences, 1 and 2 are given. Each sentence has a blank in it. 5 words, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 are suggested. Out of these, only one fits at both the places. In the context of each sentence, the number of that word is the error. So, basically this is fill in the blanks, right? Just a different pattern. Yeah. So, what you need to do is, again, for fill in the blanks, we know this, we've applied a lot of strategies like collocations, right? We've applied a lot of strategies like context clues. There will be clues in the context that will help us. Yeah. So, and the option says henceforth, now, forthwith, there and hereafter. I already have an answer for this, but let's look at it. Yeah, 1 word for 2 blanks. Very big sentences, madam, how to remember? Huh? You don't have to remember, you just have to understand. Let's look at it. The Supreme Court said that all 26 mobile operators whose licenses were cancelled should stop offering services to consumers hereafter. I could have you arrested hereafter. Okay, so most of you are coming back and saying option E, but does option E make sense in the second context? In the first context, yes, I can use hereafter, but My problem is the word has to fit in both the contexts, no? See, another way to do this is, some of you are coming back and saying now. Option B. For me, one other way in which I can do this is substitution method, right? If I have to put my own word in both these blanks, what word will I put? Go back. If you have to put, forget what is there in the options. You tell me, if you have to put a word, think of a word. Okay, Akshita asks a question. What is the meaning of forthwith? And henceforth also, Vijay doesn't know. Okay. So when I say henceforth, which means what? From now onwards. It's almost like saying hereafter. Hereafter means in the future, right? Henceforth means from now onwards. I will take the AIM tests henceforth. I haven't been taking the AIM tests, Sylvia. Henceforth, I will take it, which means from now onwards, I will start taking it. Okay? After this. Yes. Can I apply that in the context? What is forthwith? Forthwith means immediately. Immediately. Now that you know the meaning, I am going to project the question. Now you tell me what will be the right answer. Now that I gave the meaning, everybody's like forthwith, 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 forthwith. So my problem, the challenge that I see is vocabulary. Most of you are not knowing the meanings of all the words for you to choose the right option. So vocabulary is a problematic area then, right? Because if you don't know the meaning, you might miss out on choosing the right answer. And for your information, yes, C is the answer. Now, if I have to use now, right, I could have you arrested now, yeah. The Supreme Court said that all 26 mobile operators whose licenses were cancelled should stop offering services to consumers from now onwards. Completes the meaning of the sentence. I just can't say now alone. I could have you arrested forthwith, meaning I could have you arrested immediately. Yeah, forthwith would be the right fit in both the contexts, meaningfully as well as grammatically. I don't need to change anything. In the first context, I have to say from now onwards, then it will make sense, right? I just can't put now alone there. I could have you arrested right away. I could have you arrested immediately, forthwith. That's our answer option. Yeah, there, Vijay. No, Baba. Option D is just irrelevant. No connection at all. The Supreme Court said that all 26 mobile operators whose licenses were cancelled stop offering service to consumers. There means where? No. Moving forward, we're going to move to the next question. The Department of Telecom had argued that the auction would not succeed if the entire spectrum was put up for dash, as the supply would exceed demand. He dominated her, forcing her to do his dash. Excuse me. What do you think is the answer for this one? Same pattern. Make sure the word fits both the contexts. Okay, most of you are missing out on this. You're just looking at one context. You're not ensuring that so basically I have B, C, D so far. Please go back, look at the context and make sure the word fits meaningfully in both the contexts, not just one. Okay, so somebody asked, what's the meaning of bidding? Bidding has different meanings in different contexts, right? Have you been a part of an auction where, you know, people bid, right? So if I'm trying to sell this stylus, okay, so I'll say, okay, Priya. So Priya says 500, Mohan says 600, Nagini says 700, right? They are bidding for this. So that's bidding, a particular product or something where you are bidding for that, right? Different prices. So that's one meaning of bidding in an auction context, right? The other one is it comes from the phrase, you know, from the phrase at your beck and call, meaning if I ask you to do something, right? So I can say Raj, okay, came running, or Raj completed this task at my bidding, meaning I had asked him to do it and he did it. It's more like a order. I ordered him to do it, you know. At my bidding he did that. At my order he did that. At my command he did that. That's another meaning. Yeah. Auction. Auction is a place where you sell different articles for the promotion of, you know, it can be for a cause where you're trying to raise money, right? So people can usually it's to promote a cause, a particular cause where they want to raise funds, where they want to raise money for that cause, right? It can be poverty, it can be child development, it can be whatever, you know, AIDS awareness, whatever it is, right? So people bring different artifacts, different articles, different items, they put it up for sale. That's the place where the auction happens, where people are bidding for each particular item or art or whatever the sale is for, sale is about, right? You can have an art auction, whatever, right? So the place where the selling takes place, that's an auction. So now that you know the meaning, have you guys changed your answers? So obviously it is bidding. Kaun hai? Ahuja. Okay, so let's look at the context. So the Department of Telecom had argued that the auction would not succeed if the entire spectrum was put up for bidding, as the supply would exceed demand. Put up for bidding meaning same thing, right? And I have the clue word auction as well in part in sentence 1. The second one, he dominated her, forcing her to do his bidding, right? Ordered, command, forcing her to do his bidding meaning do his whatever he asked her to do, right? So that's the right word. It can't be anything else. Yoshikant is like, I told the right answer, no need to change anything. Okay, Baba. Good for you. Right? So everybody else who gave other options, incorrect. Okay? He dominated her, forcing her to do his display, illogical. He dominated her, forcing her to do his orders. Again, he ordered her to do something. That makes sense, right? In a context, you don't force somebody to do an order, you order them to do it, right? So meaningfully and grammatically, I can't say you can't force somebody to do the order. You order them to do it, right? Because order itself means what? It's like a force, right? You're forcing someone to do something when you're ordering them to do it. So it cannot be orders. And an entire spectrum was put up for auction as a supply would, no. That doesn't make sense, right? Auction, repeat word in the same context, illogical. Forcing her to do is auction again, illogical. So it cannot be orders, it cannot be auction. Rahul, you said option B, it cannot be that, right? Approval. The Department of Telecom had argued that the auction would not succeed if the entire spectrum was put up for approval. No. Forcing her to do is bidding, meaning forcing her to do whatever he asked her to do, whatever he ordered her to do, whatever he commanded her to do, GV. It's in fact a collocation. To do one's bidding is in fact collocations. Ahuja, did you miss last session? We did a lot of spot the error questions. I will give you an example. Let me write the example. Okay? So you'll follow what I'm saying. Excuse me. See, the collocation is if person A asks or tells you to do something, you do it at their bidding. Right? So just for you to understand the context. So I can say at my friend's bidding, I decided to accompany him to the concert. Basically what I'm saying, at my friend's bidding, because he asked me to do it, because he told me to do it, I decided to do it. Right? That's what it means. So in the context, he dominated her, forcing her to do his bidding, meaning whatever he asked her to do it, he did it. She did it. Yeah? Are you following, GV? Okay, I don't understand the Hindi words that you guys have put up. If somebody can understand that, please explain it to them. Somebody who understood what I said. Explain in Hindi. Okay, chalo. Look up the meaning of bidding, no? Just because it doesn't seem correct to you does not mean it's incorrect, no? That's how it is. It's a collocation. It's a phrase. To do one's bidding is a collocation. Right? If you are not aware of that, now you are aware of it. And it is a correct expression. To do someone's bidding means to do something that they've asked you to do. We're moving forward. Let's look at the next one. Bidding goodbye. The company also holds dash programs for domestic customers. There was also a brief dash of views on the Gulf crisis. Okay, I want you to apply the concept of collocations in this one. I'm going to project it again. Just take a look at it and see if you're able to identify the right answer. Same directions, because most of you are finding this one particularly challenging. Let's look at one more in this pattern. Khan, one word always has many meanings. That's what English is all about. One word can act like a noun, one word can act like a verb, one word can bring in one particular meaning in a context. Yeah. So I'm looking at answers E. Hey, say something else. You know only that one sentence to write, Vijay. Rephrase the sentence at least. Same sentence you put up last session also. And by the way, I did not say that. I'll tell you other words I know. Matlab. So did you guys find the answer? A lot of you are coming back and saying, okay, so let's look. What are the collocations? The collocation is very, very simple, okay? The first collocation is exchange programs. Exchange program, have you heard? This is an expression as it is. What is an exchange program? If you were in school, I don't know if you were part of any exchange programs. Basically, university schools have these exchange programs where students of other universities from abroad come here. You know, it's more like it can be a cultural exchange program, or it can be on a particular project, right? So exchange program, that's a collocation as it is, and it makes sense to put this in the context, right? The company also holds exchange programs for domestic customers, and exchange of views is again another collocation. Yeah, there was also a brief exchange of views on the Gulf crisis. So without a doubt, you can just go ahead and, you know, choose option E and not be confused in this, because even if one word fits in one context, the other options they do not fit in both the contexts. You can hold discussions, not discussion programs, illogical, right? Though discussion can fit in the second context. Again, if people who said expression, the company also holds expression programs, again illogical. And expression of views, again just not making sense. Yeah, holds offer programs, completely illogical. There was also a brief offer of views, not very effective in the context. Yeah, okay, so we're going to move forward. We're going to look at what the next one is. This time bullseye. Good for you. So far we've looked at, we started off with phrase connectors, and we looked at out of context, then exchanging views. I have a view, you have a view. Let's talk about cyberbullying, right? What is your view on cyberbullying? So if you're having a group discussion, right, Neeraj gives his view, you give your view, I give my view, that's exchanging views. We're exchanging views on a particular topic or a subject. Yeah, that's what it is. Your view meaning your opinion. What do you have? What do you think about cyberbullying? What do you have to say based on your experiences? Have you been cyberbullied? Yeah, things like that. Exchanging views on a particular topic or a subject. Okay, so and this one is fill in the blanks, but slightly different pattern, right? Where we're looking at, and most of you are finding it difficult because you're choosing one word that fits only one context and missing out on the word fitting both the contexts. Yeah, let's look at what the next question type is. Okay, our famous, I just did Kranti. Our famous jumble sentence, that's what we have. The next one, so jumble sentence, apply the same thing what we looked at out of context theme, right? But we already know the strategies that no GV, I don't think so. I think there's some more. Okay, so let's identify our topic sentence, and if you are able to identify the entire thing, please go for it. Give me the entire sequence. let's look at this 30 seconds to 1 minute. Let's see if you are able to crack this sequence. Okay, and there's a lot of pronouns and certain repeat words and phrases, so keep that in mind and keep asking questions. Alright, projecting the question. Here you go, your time starts now. If you're not able to identify the entire sequence, at least identify the topic sentence and maybe the next two links. Okay. Every class is a class where I share strategies. Mr. Khan. Okay, let's look at some. So some of you said C, some of you said D. Okay, I'm going to take a couple of sequences. Okay, let me take Divya's sequence, which is CEDFAB, CEDFAB, and I will take Shubham's sequence DCFAEB. Okay, I'm going to write it so we don't forget. Divya, Shubham. Whose else sequence I can take? Somebody who has a different sequence. Navya, DAFCB. Okay, so I'm going to look at these three sequences. I mean, of course, I'm sure all of you have slightly different sequences as well, but we'll just keep these three and let's move forward. Let's identify, first of all, is C the topic sentence or D the topic sentence, right? And how do we do that? One of the ways, one of the strategies in which we identify the topic sentences, these repeat words and phrases help us, right? So let's look at that first. What are some of the repeat words and phrases? Can you tell me some repeat words and phrases? I see writes, writes, writes. One, right? Right. What else are the repeat words and phrases? Obligations, I see that also as a repeat words and phrases. Power of attorney is another thing that I saw. Right, and anything else that I'm missing out on? Banker, okay. Okay, so I have all these repeat words and phrases. Chalo. Now, if you look at the repeat words and phrases, and I also have to keep in mind, predominantly, you know, it seems like rights is dominating right? 3 times it appears in the context. Yes or no? Yeah, and predominantly the context seems to be revolving around what the account holder obviously is referring to the banker, right? Which means always keep in mind, I have told you the rule of the article rule to keep in mind in terms of what will come before. Sequencing. When I'm introducing something, I have to use a indefinite article. When I'm referring to the same thing, that's when I use the definite article, which means I will eliminate option C as my topic sentence because it starts with the account holder is authorized to operate the account, right? Out of the blue, C is a very, very meaty sentence. When I say meaty sentence, it's packed with information, which means it is giving me a lot of information. It's almost like adding to what has been previously said. I cannot choose C as a topic sentence. I will use the rule of the article rule and I will eliminate option C as my topic sentence. Divya, I'm sorry, my sentence cannot start with C, right? And everything, see, wherever I see the definite article, it rings a bell to me, which means all of this has been explained previously somewhere. Yeah, so using that article rule, I will eliminate C as, so whoever said C as a topic sentence, I am so sorry, that is not the answer, which means that has to leave us with option D, because everything else has such rights, these, such power, along with the rights, which means D has to be a topic sentence. Shubham and Navya, fair enough, you will get 1 mark there. What is the first sentence after rearranging? 1 mark, D. Yes, got it. So D is our topic sentence. Next. So what is D saying? There are various rights of a banker. What are those rights? It can be such rights. But then I have obligations here. Obligations, right? There could be a connect there between A and F. So what else? So these rights, right? The only thing that I can quickly connect it to is which one? Keep in mind, there are various rights of a banker. Okay. What about those rights? And then F says along with the rights there are certain obligations too, which means obligations is introduced in F and such rights and obligations. So even if I don't know what the next sequence is, okay, forget it, I am confused now. I don't know, boss, after D what, but I'm going to form my links. What can my links be? I am saying F and A are a link. Okay, I am not saying F will follow after D. I don't know that yet. I am a little confused because I have B also. I don't know where to fit B. But I am forming logical links. I am saying along with the rights, there are certain obligations too which a banker is required to fulfill. Such rights and obligations under the, so I am saying A has to follow F because F introduces the obligations and the same obligations is being referred to again in A, saying such rights and obligations under the special relationship are mandates and power of attorney. Okay, A has to follow F. Okay, this is a link. I have established one link. Is there any other link that I can establish? Oh, power of attorney again is here in C. Now for me C, right, power of attorney is here, D. I'm sorry, A, right? And then it says I have power of attorney repeating in C and E. What does C say? The C says the account holder is authorized to operate the account through a third person in addition to himself by suitable authority for one-time basis and or also for various functions through a power of attorney. Such power of attorney is either general or special in nature. So which means after A I can connect C and then I am left with E. Okay. So FA FA is a link. Shubham, you got this link correct. Okay. But C unfortunately has to follow A. It cannot come after D because C is talking about that power of attorney, right? So now let's see where else we can form links. I'm not too sure. I might have to go back and switch around, but predominantly I'm just looking at what can be the most logical sequence, right? That's what we're looking at. So let's look at it. So there are various rights of a banker, that is there. F is there. Then we have A. Then we have C. Then we have E. So for me, ACE also looks like a nice sequence for power of attorney in terms of logical sequence, which means I'm only left with B. Where will B fall? Where can I place B? These have been invested by the law of the country. If I look at E, such power of attorney is either general or special in nature, but these can refer to, it has to refer to a plural noun number, right? But power of attorney is a singular subject, which means it cannot come after E. It has to come where? Where can I fit B? The only place where I can logically fit B is after D. These are various rights of a banker. There are various rights of banker. These have been vested by the law of the country, right? The law of the country has vested these rights on the banker. So these are referring to the various rights. I can fit B only after D and not after E. So this sequence EB, Navya and Shubham, incorrect, right? So I don't know who got the right sequence here. I haven't looked at the comment box yet. The only logical sequence can be this. Let's go over it again one more time. Okay. We have established the fact that boss, rights is what we are talking about. Bankers' rights is what the theme is. The context revolves around that. Right. There are various rights of a banker, and these rights have been vested by the law of the country. Who put these rights in place? Law of the country. That's what the country says. That's what the law says. What is the meaning of vested? Anybody? In the context, what does it mean? Vested means? Have you heard of vested interest as a collocation? Or vested benefit? Have been vested by the law of the country means something that is legally right, something that has to be followed, or I can look at it as, these are the rights of a banker, meaning this is like more like a privilege, a legal right. The country has gone ahead and vested these rights on a banker, saying, boss, this is the privilege that you get. As a banker, these are your legal rights. These are the benefits that we are offering you. This is the privilege that you have, right? That's the meaning of vested. So that makes sense now. So there are various rights of a banker. These, meaning the various rights, have been vested by the law of the country. Along with the rights, there are certain obligations too, which a banker is required to fulfill. Such rights and obligations under the special relationship, what are they? Mandates and power of attorney. Then C is giving an example. The account holder is authorized to operate the account through a third person in addition to himself by suitable authority for one-time basis and are also for various functions through a power. So how are these two, power of attorney and mandate, come under rights and obligations? The A is explained in C further. How? And then you close. Such power of attorney is either general or special in nature. Khatam. Ho gaya. So the right sequence is DB FACE. Did anybody get this right? Imposed, established. Okay. I got only topic sentence right. Enacted. Where does it come? Elsie? Let me read. Is enacted anywhere here? Okay, I don't know where enacted comes. Sajid, very risky to attempt such kind of questions in exam. But you don't have a choice, no, Sajid? Such questions appear in exams. What do? You need to make the most of it, right? Just because. So that's why you practice, so that it doesn't become a risk for you in the exam. Vijay, due to that reason, I attempt only first and last sentence only in live exam. The reason why I can't put E before C is because C is giving me an example or explaining what those rights and obligations are, which are mandates and power of attorney, which is explained in C very clearly, right? The account holder is authorized to operate the account through a third person. In addition, so mandates means something that has to be followed, mandatory, right? So by suitable authority for one-time basis and or also for various functions through a power of attorney. This is how the rights and obligations are expressed in C. So I can't put E before C. E is almost like a culmination, saying such power of attorney is either general or special in nature. A is introducing it, C is explaining it, D is concluding it. So it has to be ACE only. Got it? So some links, Shubham, you at least got the topic sentence and one link correct. So you'll get 3 marks. Yeah? Third and fourth sequence you'll get 3 marks you'll get. Navya only 1 mark you'll get. Everything else is all over the place. Yeah? Okay. So likewise. No, such power of attorney, that such is explained where? In C only, no? Do you understand? E is starting with such power of attorney. Which power of attorney? The one explained in C. Not A, no? A is introducing power of attorney. Where is the explanation of power of attorney? In C, it is more specific, telling you how the power of attorney plays a role. So such power of attorney, the one who is playing a role in C, is either general or special in nature. Got it? Khan? Yeah? Followed? Yes. The idea is for you to not to skip these questions, right? The idea is for you not to skip the questions. That's why you need to always look for what you can look. How much marks can you maximize in a question type like this? Yeah? A lot of people are fed up, Nagini, not just you. So the idea is for you not to get dejected. The idea is for us to know how to approach these question types and see how much marks we can maximize out of this, right? Get some links correct, get some topic sentence. Given the time that you have, you may not be in a position to get the entire sequence right. Understood, right? Did anybody get the sequence right? I saw a lot of sequences, but I don't think any of you got it right. I didn't see a DB at all. And then I don't have the previous history. It's all gone in the chat. So I'm assuming nobody got it right. Cool. Let's go. Let's move to the next question type. Okay. What is it? So if you got the sequence right, you know what the answer is. And I always keep saying this. Sorry, let me go back to the sequence. DB, FA, CE. If that is our sequence, let's quickly finish this off. D, B, F, A, C, E, right? That's a sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't forget to do this step. It's extremely important even after you get the sequence that you number it right, so you get the right, all the 5 marks. Yeah, second is B, third is F, fourth is A, and last, not fifth, but last is E. Got it? You're all set. Now you get your full 5 marks. Let's move forward. I just did, Anand. I said these refer to the various rights which have been vested by the law of the country to the banker. Okay? Oops. Okay, the next one is reading comprehension, I'm guessing. Yes, it is. Ta-da! Okay, so see, we may not have time to complete the entire reading comprehension section, but some of you had challenges with reading comprehension section, right? Now, when it comes to reading comprehension section, the first thing we'll do is analyze the questions, right? 1. 2 is and I keep saying this because not all of us see, there are 2 ways in which I can approach reading comprehension. Okay, approach number 1, I will read the entire passage and I will answer the questions. That's approach number 1, right? For some of you, that might actually save time. Like if your reading fluency is above average, then you can do that. Huh? That is one approach. The second approach is, because we panic in the exam if the passage is really long, and I think this is a very long passage. It looks like at least 800 plus words. Time, ma'am, can we do the next class? No, we cannot. You don't have to stay, boss. You can leave. Nobody is forcing you to stay. This is for people who have a challenge with reading comprehension. And I'm not even going to complete the entire question. I'm going to share some tips. We probably might look at 1 or 3 questions and then I'll close. Maybe another 10-15 minutes. You can always come back and watch the session later. That's the beauty, right? We have these sessions archived. So I'm just going to share some strategies and we're going to look at a couple of questions. I know reading comprehension is not a favorite question type for all, but unfortunately that carries the maximum marks in our exam when it comes to the English section, right? A minimum of 7 to 10 questions are always there when it comes to reading comprehension. So yes, I agree with you, Neeraj. I think for your mental satisfaction, getting the links right makes sense. But if you're not putting it in the right sequence, yes, even that will be wrong. Absolutely. So coming back to reading comprehension. Approach number 1, read the entire passage, answer the questions. So for a passage of 800 plus length, above average reading speed, Anand asks. 250 words per minute is average. Above average is 250 plus. If you are able to read 250 words and plus words in a minute, then you are an above average reader. Okay. Approach number 2, scan the questions, and if there are vocabulary based questions, we finish that first, right? Synonym antonym questions, because words are highlighted in the passage. All we have to do is just look at the context where that bold or highlighted word appears, and then apply context clues, figure out the meaning, answer the questions, right? If there are no vocabulary based questions, then I have to look at, there will always be a positive detailed question and negative detailed question, which means what is true according to the passage, positive detailed question. What is not true according to the passage, negative detailed question. Okay, those sort of questions there. But for the most part, trust me, some questions are direct references from the passage, which means the passage will directly support those questions. How can I, if I take a lot of time to scan for those questions, right? Another strategy that I've shared is just pay attention to topic sentence, closing sentence of paragraphs. You will answer at least 2-3 questions by just paying attention to the topic sentence, which is first sentence and closing sentence of that paragraph. Yeah? Okay. So, these are pretty much the basis to approach reading comprehension. So, let's do the first step, right? We're not going to, maybe you can take time while practicing a reading comprehension session, apply these, right? We may not have the time to read the entire thing right now, but we're going to do one thing at least. Let's try and answer 3-4 questions. Let's look at the questions first. First question, how are Chinese entrepreneurs different from India's technology entrepreneurs? Answer in the context of the passage. So, every time I read a question, I am mentally making note of keywords, right? So, in the question, basically they are asking difference between Chinese entrepreneurs and Indian entrepreneurs, right? So, entrepreneurs is my keyword here. Second question, find the correct statement in respect of the market targets of China and Indian startups. Again, here my keyword is startups, market targets. Sorry, I will put the screen. Yeah, market targets, Indian startups. Okay, screen is up, my bad. Can you see the screen now? So, first question, Chinese, India's entrepreneurs, that's the keyword. Second question is China and Indian startups, market targets. Okay, we're going to move forward. Third one, why do trailblazers like Alibaba and Tencent come into being? Very, very obvious keywords, right? Trailblazers, Alibaba, Tencent. Okay. Fourth one, which of the following statements is incorrect in the context of the given passage? So, we saw a positive detail one, we are looking at a negative detail one. Questions like this, unfortunately, I have to read the entire passage. Okay. But another strategy that you can apply for a question like this also is to look at the options and look at keywords. For example, look at A. It says the number of Indian technology companies listed on the US exchanges is very few in comparison to that of Chinese companies. So, listed on the US exchange, that's my keyword. Web behind the wall provides guidance to foreign companies looking to enter China. This is my key phrase here. Twitter and Facebook are not allowed to provide their services in Chennai. Twitter and Facebook are my keywords here. KPCB based in Menlo Park has its offices both in Beijing and in KPCB becomes my keyword. So, even in positive, negative, detailed questions, if I have to skip reading the entire paragraph, I will need to look for keywords in the options and scan for that. Okay. In the context itself, we will come across trailblazers, I'm sorry, but trailblazers in general means what? I don't know whose question was that, Chandani Raj, yeah. Trailblazers mean innovators. Basically, somebody who's kind of somebody who's, how can I put this? I can say innovators can be trailblazers, but somebody who opens up new avenues, okay? It's like they create a path for you where you can start something or follow something, a trailblazer. A trail means what? Have you, what is that fairy tale? Hansel and Gretel, they get lost in the woods. It's an old story. So, they leave a trail of breadcrumbs, right? So, leaving a trail means creating a path. Trailblazer. Blazer means something extraordinary, something innovative, something creative. So, they are almost like pathfinders. trailblazers, okay. But again, in the context, like Vasco da Gama, okay. Pioneers, yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Let's look at the questions again. Let me project the screen. What, according to the passage, is necessary for the non-native entrepreneurs to compete in the Chinese market? So here my keyword is non-native entrepreneurs. What are the steps taken by the Chinese government to improve the performance metric of companies? Performance metric, Chinese government. These are my keywords. What is the line of difference between Indian and Chinese government towards their entrepreneurs? So, difference in the governments. What fundamental methods does China adopt for developing consumer products in huge quantity? China developing consumer products in huge number. The methods is what they are looking for. So, what's the last one? What, according to the passage, is the major lacuna in Indian government when it comes to entrepreneurship? Answer in the context of the passage. That's it. So, as I am reading the questions, I have identified some keywords. If I am somebody who has very poor reading skills or my reading fluency is below average, I will only scan for these words in the context. One way in which I can do that is to focus on the topic sentence and closing sentence of the paragraphs. I will be able to answer at least a minimum of 3-4 questions. So I don't have to completely or entirely skip reading comprehension section. Let me gain some marks, right? Now go back. Let's look at answering a couple of questions, okay? The first one is this the first question? Yes. How are Chinese entrepreneurs different from India's technology entrepreneurs? Answer in the context of the passage. That's what it says, right? Somebody is asking the meaning of something. Kya hai? Lacuna. Let me look at the context of the one second. Where does lacuna appear? Oh, last question. What, according to the passage, is a major lacuna in Indian government when it comes to entrepreneurship? So lacuna means here we're talking about I would say like a gap, like an opportunity area, like a challenging area. So what, according to the passage, is a major gap in Indian government when it comes to entrepreneurship? What are they lacking? What is the missing part? Right? That's the meaning of lacuna here. Lacuna basically means a pit or a cavity or something like that. Yeah, gap. Vidya has mentioned it. Seems like there is no antonym synonym questions in this particular paragraph. Chalo, no problem. Let's go back. Yeah, here we are. So, I have to figure out difference between Chinese India's technology entrepreneurs. Okay, A, B, C. So, can I quickly skim through this? Option A. About 4/5 of China accelerator focus only on the Chinese market, whereas entire gamut of India's entrepreneurs focus on the markets of neighboring countries. Chinese entrepreneurs look outside the country's borders when they succeed at home, whereas India's technology entrepreneurs find their products not suitable for foreign markets. More than 99% Chinese entrepreneurs focus only on Chinese consumers, whereas India's technology entrepreneurs design and develop their products for markets in the US, Europe and Southeast Asia, which means I have to look for the point that the passage completely supports. Now if I go back, right, and another thing I want to tell you is also mostly in terms of sequencing, okay, answers to the first, second, third, fourth question will come somewhere in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth paragraph, right? Right? Yeah, that's why I agree with you, Nilesh. For a reading comprehension passage like this, I would advise you to read the entire passage and then answer the questions. You will actually end up saving time. You just need to work on your reading fluency, right? I mean, just having looked at the questions, for me, a safe bet would be to read the entire passage, boss. Understand what the passage is. Even if it takes 4 minutes, no problem. Ideally, you should be able to read it within 3 minutes, 800 plus word count, or maybe a little more, right? 4 minutes also is fine, because if I can't allot a minimum of 5 minutes for reading comprehension, then what's the point? I have to allot, right? That has a maximum number of marks in my English section. So plan in such a way that you have at least a minimum of 5 minutes. So even if you take 4 minutes to read the passage, in the next 1 minute, you'll be able to answer at least 2-3 questions. Yeah, that's how you should plan or strategize your approach towards reading comprehension. So now, if I look at the options, right, I'm looking at the first paragraph here, right, and I'm already able to capture some keywords that I looked at when I was analyzing the questions, right. For example, I may not get the answer to my first question, but I'm looking at, you know, I had this in one of the questions, right. Startups was another keyword, right. And look at this next paragraph itself. The opening, the topic sentence says, more than 99% of Chinese entrepreneurs only bear in mind Chinese consumers. It's right there, it's supporting point C for question number 1, right. And then the next paragraph immediately says, this is in stark contrast to India's technology entrepreneurs. Again, the topic sentence, many of whom start by conceptualizing and designing offerings that target developed markets in the US and Europe and now even Southeast Asia, which means my keywords, Chinese entrepreneurs, India's technology entrepreneurs is covered, right. That was my first question, hai na? How are Chinese entrepreneurs different from India's technology entrepreneurs? Both my keywords are covered in this, in the topic sentence of second and third paragraph, and there is a direct reference, right. There is a direct reference in option C. More than 99% Chinese entrepreneurs focus only on Chinese consumers, whereas India's technology entrepreneurs design and develop their products for markets in the US, blah blah blah. So what can be your option? If it's saying more than 99%, obviously it cannot be option A, because it says only about 4/5 of the China accelerator focus. So out. Option A is out. Chinese entrepreneurs look outside the country's borders when they succeed at home, whereas India's technology entrepreneurs find their products not suitable for foreign markets. This is not what the context is saying. Or is it? Are you following? So which means this first question, I have looked at the topic sentence of second and third paragraph. It is directly pointing to point C, option C in question number 1. Yes or no? You tell me. So what will be our answer then for question number 1? Option C, na? Absolutely. You can just close your eyes and pick option C. Did you guys have anything different? Yes, right? So, yes boss, I haven't read the passage. I answered the first question. I looked at the topic sentence of second paragraph, third paragraph. I answered 1 mark. I got. Great. Let's move on. Let's look at the next question. Find the correct statement in respect of the market targets of China and Indian startups. So I saw a lot of startups here, right? While many Indian startups target overseas markets, for Chinese entrepreneurs, the market is at home. Then see this again, you know, it becomes a little cumbersome for me to answer the second question, because I have to look for startups, my keyword, and see where and all it is appearing in the passage. So the best thing to do is either read the entire passage or not. Yeah. So what I would ideally do is, these positive detail, negative detail questions, no, I will skip, as in I will not give importance to it as a sequence. I'll move on to the next question, right? And that's what I'm going to do for this one as well. I'm not going to look at this question right now. I'll come back to this question when I have time. Why do trailblazers like Alibaba and Tencent come into being? Third question. I just saw it when I was skimming for my question 1, right? I saw it. Where was it? Right here. First paragraph, closing sentence. First paragraph, closing sentence. What does it say? Trailblazers like Alibaba and Tencent are shaped by fierce local competition, a unique brand of innovation, and an ambitious government. Is that there in any of my options? Let's see. A. Trailblazers like Alibaba and Tencent come into being as a result of government pressure to do something different to attract the vast majority of customers. No, sorry. Trailblazers like Alibaba and Tencent come into being as a result of their innovative products. Yes, it says that. Trailblazers like Alibaba and Tencent come into being as a result of fierce local competition. Yes, both B and C are supported. Yes or no? So is it A, B, C, D or E? What is your answer for this one? We just saw the thing, right? Fierce local competition, unique brand of innovation, ambitious government. So what is our answer for the third one? Again, a closing sentence of first paragraph is giving me an answer to a question. What's your answer, guys? E. Yes, Kiran. Correct. Right? 2 and 3, B and C, both are supported. So it is, I'm sorry, as in 2 and 3 as in option E, not B and C. Let me erase that. Yeah, perfect. Dolvin also got that right. So we got one more mark. Let's look at the next one. Which of the following statements is incorrect in the context of the given passage? This again, I have to, too many keywords, right? I have to keep looking, I have to keep searching for that in the context. My keywords are US exchanges, web behind the wall, Twitter and Facebook, KPCB. So it can be anywhere in the passage, right? All of these. So it's going to take me time. I'm going to skip this. Okay, I'm going to skip this. I'm going to move to the next one. Negative detail, positive detail, I'm skipping. What according to the passage is necessary for the non-native entrepreneurs to compete in the Chinese market? So I have only one keyword here. Non-native entrepreneurs. Right? Let me just quickly skim through the options. It is necessary for the non-native entrepreneurs to master their technological advancements in order to compete with Chinese market. It is necessary for the non-native entrepreneurs to ensure providence of incentives from their own government so that the infrastructural blockage does not become a problem. C. It is necessary for the non-native entrepreneurs to master the Chinese language in order to compete with the Chinese market. So obviously, see, this is a very logical question if you ask me. I'll tell you why. The answer is there in the question itself. Are you following? The answer is there in the question itself. I don't even have to look at the passage. If I am non-native, which means obviously I don't belong to China, I'm from a different country, right? And I'm trying to get access to that market, Chinese market. So if I'm a non-native entrepreneur, what is necessary for me to compete in the Chinese market? What's the most logical thing, you tell me, without looking at the passage? Without looking at the passage, just looking at all these three options, according to you, logically, what can be the answer? Apply simple logic. No, Sendamit Shelvi, no. That is only one of the strategies. Okay? Kiran says E, Shubham says C, Ahuja says C. Banashri. So what option, Banashri? What option will you choose? A, B or C? Okay, Banashri and Rajashekar and everybody is saying language. Yes, that is the most logical answer, no? If I'm a non-native entrepreneur, the most logical thing for me to do is, now let's check if the passage is supporting that, right? Just to make sure. Logically, if I apply logic without reading the passage, I know it has to be C, common sense. But is the passage supporting that? We'll have to see, right? And C says it is necessary for the non-native entrepreneurs to master the Chinese language in order to compete with the Chinese market. So we're going to look for non-native entrepreneurs and where it appears. Okay, I'm just quickly skimming. I'm only looking, mostly I'm looking at only topic sentence, closing sentence, but anywhere if I'm able to capture non-native entrepreneurs, I'm going to quickly stop. Look at this. I got it. It says here, yeah, see here, non-native speakers. Okay, I got that. And I'm going to read the entire context. It says, in a country where only 0.73% of the population speaks English, corporations from abroad must master the notoriously difficult Chinese language in order to compete. An almost impossible feat for non-native speakers. That Facebook, blah, blah, blah. So this guy is doing it. Mark Zuckerberg is devoting time daily to master the Chinese language so we can expand on in the Chinese market as well. Right? So that's our answer right there. This again is a topic sentence of a paragraph. Yeah, I have only looked at the clue phrase, my keyword, non-native speakers, compete. So that's my answer, C. That's it. One more point. Yeah, let's move to the next question. Clear? Are you guys with me? Okay, so Vijay, just to answer your question, right? I said there are two approaches. One approach is to read the entire passage and answer the questions. If your reading fluency is above average, I keep saying that, I will stress on that point, because only if my reading fluency is above average, which means not just the fact that I'm able to read fast, I am also understanding what I'm reading, right? And my retention power is great, which means whatever I read, I'm able to retain some information. So when I'm looking at the questions, I'm able to quickly answer it. So you must be an above average reader to follow approach 1. Approach 2 is only for those who are struggling, those who have fear of long passages, long passage phobia, right? So as soon as you see the long passage, you're like, oh no. Or as soon as you have an aversion towards reading comprehension. Approach number 2. Approach number 2 is analyze questions, identify keywords, scan for those keywords, focus on topic sentence, closing sentence to at least gain some marks. Okay. Going back. Which question are we in? Non-native over. What are the steps taken by the Chinese government to improve the performance metric of companies? Okay. So, which means I need to, my keyword is performance metric. Yes or no? Did I? Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Quickly, let me skim through the options. The local government helps in nurturing science parks to encourage software development, providence of incentives in tax and investment, the state offers seed funding to the startup entrepreneurs, emphasis on research. All of these look like, see, I mean, I'm reading the options, all of these look like valid points, right? And they are specifically talking only about the Chinese government. There is no comparison here. They're saying, what did the Chinese government do to improve the performance metrics of their companies, right? So I have all these points here. Everything seems logical. I just need to make sure the passage is supporting all of this somewhere, right? So I'm going to go back. Have I been able to capture any key points from the options? Yes, I have science parks nurturing, incentives in tax and investment, funding to startup entrepreneurs, research emphasis. So I have all these keywords. I need to look for them in the context. Okay. In fact, it's right here. I don't even have to go anywhere. Again, a completely separate mini paragraph right before the last line of the passage. Okay, it says, all over China, even in small and medium cities, local governments are nurturing science parks to encourage software development, providing incentives in tax research and investment. Research and investment, all three are covered, right? Do I have all my points covered here? I do. Incentives, tax, funding, research, nurturing, all of the above, right? It has to be all of the above. All of the above. E. Yeah. So again, I mean, I'm not gonna move forward. You get the idea, right? You get the idea of how to do this, how to approach reading comprehension section. Don't get bothered or perturbed by the length of the passage. That is why approach 2 is there. Analyze questions, identify keywords, look for keywords, look for what do I say? Topic sentence, closing sentence. Yeah, but which means even for approach 2, you need to be very fast, which means you need to have an eye for detail. It's not very easy, no? Such a long passage. Here in the screen, like somebody pointed out, here in the screen I'm able to quickly identify, but in the exam, I still need to go back and forth and I need to have an eye for detail, right? When I'm applying the technique of scanning, I need to have an eye for detail to be able to pick up the answer quickly. So for questions like this, right, where it's very straightforward, no inference based questions where you have to guess what the answer is, right? It's not like they've taken a phrase and asking you what does this phrase mean in the context of the passage. That requires a lot of reasoning. Here, these are answers directly supported by the passage. Direct reference, not inference based. Yeah? True. That's what I'm saying, Kiran. Sometimes it's not enough if we look at only the keywords in the questions. We need to also pay attention to the keywords in the options. All the keywords in the options are mentioned there in that context. Right? And keep in mind, they are talking about, when I say performance metrics, basically to improve the companies, what is the Chinese government doing? Right? That's the question. So, if you are not able to identify keywords from the questions, focus on the options. There are keywords in the options also. Yeah. So, this is pretty much how I want you to approach reading comprehension, not just look at, what do I say? The ideal thing to do, Khan, is approach 1. Definitely, no doubt about it. Right? The approach 2 that I'm saying is actually quite risky, because it may not cover all the aspects or points. But the reason why I'm introducing approach 2 is for people who completely skip reading comprehension, right? Who don't even make an attempt. That is bad. That is wrong. That you should not do. In order for you to not do that is where I have introduced approach 2. But the ideal thing for you to do is definitely approach 1, which means you need to work on your reading fluency. You need to get into the habit of reading fast and understanding what you're reading. Every day, if you can just focus on, pick a random article in the newspaper or choose question papers that we are publishing, look at reading comprehension passages itself, take a particular paragraph, right, and keep applying techniques like summarizing, paraphrasing. Summarizing means you read a paragraph. Okay, if you had to summarize, what are the key points in this paragraph? Tell me what it is. You should be able to. Which means I know that your comprehension level is good. You have understood what the passage is all about. Second, paraphrasing. Pick a sentence. Explain it in your own words. Right? If you constantly get into the habit of applying the techniques of summarizing, paraphrasing, and always keep time as a factor, even when you're practicing, that's more than enough to improve your reading fluency. Anand, it is important for you to skim through the options as well, because not all the keywords in the questions, this is a good example, right? This question that we saw, somebody said, hey, performance metric was not even there, but all the keywords from the options were there in the passage, right? So when you're analyzing the question, you don't have to necessarily read the options. However, when you're answering the question, obviously you have to read the options, right? So that you don't miss out on or focus only on the topic keywords in the questions, because there are always keywords in the options as well. That's another way to go from work from back. These like sentence jumbles, no? You work from the back. Like in sentence jumbles, always the first and the last part will be given, and the ones in between only will be jumbled. So you can also go from the sixth part, which part can connect to the last closing part of the sentence, just like that. Yeah. So, so we'll continue to have sessions touching on various topics. I think our next session will be on, I don't know when. Yeah. There are only two approaches, Shubham. Approach 1 or approach 2. That's it. You need to figure out which approach will work for you based on your strength. Good reading fluency, approach 1. Average below reading fluency, approach 2. Simple. Okay? Chalo. That is if you run out of time. Yes, Selvi. Yes, Saturday. I think I'll see you guys only on Saturday. Except for the titanium students. I will see you guys on Thursday. Okay? Alright guys. Take care. Bye-bye. And before I leave, word of the day. Reminder. If you are not taking those tests and expanding your vocabulary, please start doing so. It's in the English section. It's the first section, words of the day. Don't cram it. Oops. Don't cram it till the end, right? Try and take those tests and learn words, 10 words in a day, that's it. So please do that if you haven't started doing it. Alright guys. You're most welcome, and I will see you guys later. Bye.